Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Before we continue on, I will remind you that I am not a lawyer. I am not legally certified to practice law in Vietnam. I'm just simply a foreigner from the United States that knows about the labor code. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. Earlier, I went ahead and told you all about the labor code and why I don't need a work permit anymore. And here we are. Here it is one more time in Vietnamese. Now, we are going to go on to another part that affects your work permit, and that is what happens when you do not want the government mandated insurance. So we're going to go ahead and scroll all the way up here to Article 168 right here. Boom, right there, big bold letters, Article 168. Social, health, and unemployment insurance. A lot of people don't even know about that. So see, it's Article Chapter 12, Chapter 12. All right. Again, you know it's the exact same thing, but I'm just showing it to you anyways. Same thing. All right. Right about there. It's in Vietnamese, so it's different. So social insurance, health insurance, and unemployment insurance. Article 168. Participation in social insurance, health insurance, and unemployment insurance. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through this step by step. Now, this whole video is just going to be about this article. That's it. Now, here's the deal. Article 1. Employers and employees shall participate in compulsory social insurance, compulsory health insurance, and unemployment insurance, and enjoy the benefits in accordance with provisions of the law on social insurance, health insurance, and unemployment insurance. Employers and employees are encouraged to obtain other kinds of insurance for employees. Now, here's the thing. This first one says that employers and employees both must participate in these insurance policies. Now, here's the thing. It also says that employers and employees are encouraged to obtain other kinds of insurance because of the fact that the state mandated insurance is bare minimum insurance. Yes, it is insurance, and yes, it does work. How well, I don't know, because I've never used it before. I've never gotten it. I've never used it, so I don't know how well it works. I personally use what's it called? BHYT insurance. I know it's a free plug for BHYT insurance, but they do accept foreigners, and I only pay $8 million a year for coverage. I get their platinum coverage. I really highly recommend that if you're a foreigner and you don't want to pay 5,000 USD a month for insurance, for health insurance and whatnot, go contact BHYT and go ahead and tell them that MIệuN sent you. Moving on. So, Article 2, or Clause 2 of Article 168. The employer shall not be required to pay salary for an employee when the employee is on leave and receiving social insurance benefits unless otherwise agreed by both parties. This means that if you're on leave for any particular reason, that the employer is not required to pay your salary. So they don't pay you for hours you don't work. It's right there. Now, and receiving. See, that's the other part. And receiving, unless otherwise agreed by both parties. So if you are receiving social insurance benefits because you paid into the system and you're getting money back, then that means that your employer is not required to give you any money during the time that you have to be off work, unless otherwise agreed by both parties. Now, here's the thing. Clause 3 is the biggest deal because for people like me that do not want a work permit, absolutely refuse to have a work permit, this also means that we are not allowed to get the compulsory insurance because you must have the work permit in order to get the compulsory insurance from the government. So what happens in that case? Well, that's where Article 3 comes in, right here. See, Article 3, where an employee is not covered by compulsory insurance, by compulsory social insurance, compulsory health insurance, or unemployment insurance, the employer shall, in addition to and at the same time with salary payment, pay the employee an amount equal to the compulsory social insurance, compulsory health insurance, unemployment insurance premiums payable by the employer in accordance with regulations of law on social insurance, health insurance, and unemployment insurance. What this means is the fact that your employer essentially is not only is not allowed to deduct your salary for the compulsory insurance that you don't qualify for, but they must also pay you. Yes, they must pay you for what the premiums that they were supposed to pay into the system. It says so right there. Right here. It says so right there. And it also says, and at the same time, the employer shall, right there, In addition to and at the same time with salary payment, pay the employee an amount equal to the compulsory social insurance, compulsory health, unemployment insurance premiums payable by the employer. So any premiums that the employer would normally have to pay, they have to pay you directly in accordance with regulations on laws on social health and unemployment insurance. Now, I'm not too knowledgeable on the social health and unemployment insurance laws. I know a thing or two. But this one is important because of the fact that, yes, your employer, if you are a foreigner or even a local worker here in Vietnam, and you have a legal job with your employer, they are required by law to provide you with social health and unemployment insurance from the government. And if they refuse, well, that's really not a good sign, because it's not a good sign of an employer if they refuse to provide you with something that you're supposed to get by law. So the next one I'm going to talk about, I think, is probably some of the earlier articles in the labor code, because we already talked about what can happen if you don't have a work permit. Now, the other thing, in addition to not having a work permit, this also means that you do not get the red tax invoice slip because you don't have a work permit. So you're still responsible for paying your taxes. I'm not quite sure what the tax procedure payments are, but I do know you're still required to pay your taxes. So essentially, the goal of this video is to tell people, whether they're Vietnamese or foreigners, that yes, your employer is required to provide you with insurance from the government, the compulsory health, unemployment, social insurance. They're required to provide that for you. And if they don't, you may consider switching careers. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video by telling people to please like, share this video, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. Please tell your friends about me, because I want a lot of people to know about their rights here in Vietnam. My goal is to restore the noble profession of teaching English in Vietnam. And to do that, I wish to go ahead and teach people what I know so that they can better defend themselves against unscrupulous employers. They've been popping up like dirty mushrooms all across the country. And I want to go ahead and take out those corrupted English centers one by one, to where only the righteous English centers are left standing. So I want everybody to think about that. The way I do that is simple. Like I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and teach people their rights, so that they stand up for themselves, and that they are no longer taken advantage of by evil English centers ever again. Well, have a good day, be safe, and we'll see you next time.